So, Enfield just entered into the second phase of version 1.2, and with the new Fest of Brilliance banner, I thought, why not make a video at the current state of the game and answer some of the questions I've been hearing, such as, is Gilberta really a must-have unit? Does Laevatain still perform well compared to other recent DPS units? Or what about physical teams? Pogranichnik definitely has a lot of influence over them, so how are they faring so far? And of course, the biggest question of them all, do you really want another copy of Ardelia? Well, that's why I'm here to answer these questions. So don't just treat this video as a strict guide for whom to pull for on Fest of Brilliance banner, it's more of a chill video where I go through some of these questions. Alright, so with the intro out of the way, let's first talk about Gilberta, because I know quite a few people are looking at this banner and don't see the other three units, they're just treating it as Gilberta banner. Which is quite funny because when you consider when she first debuted, not a lot of buzz was generated. But that's how supports work. The more DPS units are released, the more relevant the supports become. And Gilberta is currently one of the most universal supports in the game. She can lift and group enemies, which is super useful in AoE fights. She can also provide some healing, which often is the only source of healing because of the current team setups. However, the most important thing she brings to the fight would be her massive damage buffs from the ultimate. And even though it's not the longest duration buff, right now the DPS windows are kinda short. So this makes Gilberta's ultimate the perfect supportive ability. So all in all, yeah, Gilberta is great. Like if you watch any character guides, you'll see her showing up in Rossi teams, Feng Yi teams, Yvonne teams, and even Awivana teams. She's just that universal. But do you really need her? Honestly, I'd say right now, if you don't care about her design or abilities, there's just no demanding endgame content or actual meta where you need to improve your main DPS's damage. Obviously, this could be temporary, especially once we get a sneak peek at Contingency Contract, since in OG Arknights, this is a notoriously difficult mode when you start adding multiple modifiers to up the challenge. However, this mode, at least in OG Arknights, rewards player skill, not the player's wallet. So hopefully that means the same for Enfield when this mode arrives here. And if you miss out on some really good units such as Gilberta, you don't have to beat yourself over the head if you can pass a certain challenge. But that's all basically just speculating at this point. The 1.3 version news should be coming sometime later, and before this version is over, we will for sure know what's coming up next version. So if you really want a powerful support like Gilberta, this could help you decide. Although, it is important to acknowledge a few things about the actual banner Gilberta is on. You see, this Fest of Brilliance banner guarantee count does not carry over. It's considered to be independent from other banners, which means, aside from getting those 10 pulls from an event and shop, I wouldn't bother pulling on it, unless you're dead set on acquiring Gilberta. And then the other important factor would be the pool of 6 stars. Until you reach the 120 pull count, it's always left to chance whether the 6 star you pull is going to be Laevatain, Ardelia, Pogranichnik, or Gilberta. So this is also one of those situations where if you want Gilberta, you need to accept the fact you might pull a 6 star from the 80 pity or earlier, and it won't be her. And then you need to consider that fact if you'll be happy with one of the other 3 units. In this case, I would say since Laevatain is on this banner, if you don't have her, but you're more concerned about obtaining Gilberta, I'd say that so-called loss would be pretty great because Laevatain is actually a really good unit. And I'll talk about her in a moment, but realistically speaking, the other 2 units, Pog and Ardelia, are both standard units, and they will always be part of the pool when pulling for featured units, so keep that in mind. Anyway, those would be my thoughts about Gilberta and the so-called risks if you want to pull for her. At the end of the day, she's really good, almost every team wants her, and Fest of Brilliance banner isn't the best banner in the world, especially since no progress carries over, but at least there's a chance you could also obtain Levatane. Speaking of which, how is the feisty redhead doing? Well, not a lot of time had passed since her debut in 1.0, but she's still trucking along as one of the top tier DPS characters in the game. And the reason why she's so good partially has to do with her team comps. They are super free-to-play friendly. Seriously, you just need Wolfguard, Akakuri, Antal, Ardelia, or Gilberta. Funny how we see her show up again, not even a moment after I was done talking about her. However, not long ago, Feng Yi was released, and a lot of people noticed how similar her and Levatane's playstyles are. As someone who mainly played with Levatane in 1.0 and then switched to Feng Yi in 1.2, I can tell you that they both feel sort of bad until their ultimate is enabled, although between the two, I would consider Feng Yi to be the easier one to pilot, and her AoE just feels more consistent. But regardless, I wouldn't say Levatane is like done for just because Feng Yi exists. However, so far the game hasn't demanded us to run even even 2 teams. Not sure how this will change with contingency contract, but if we still just need 1 team, well, you only then need 1 main DPS. And if you have already invested your resources into someone like Feng Yi or Yvonne or Rossi, then unless you obtain Laevatain randomly from this banner, it's probably just better to focus on raising and obtaining better supports if you need them. But I doubt in the end you'd be unhappy if Laevatain becomes part of your roster. Who can deny her fiery spirit? Alright, this leaves us with Pogranichnik, and he's pretty much the best standard banner character. Physical teams are quite pog if you ask me. Sadly, with all the guides I've been making, I always had to focus on the next unit's growth, so I never had the chance to fully experience physical teams besides when I tinkered with them on Creator's server. However, if you look at some of the currently strong comps, pog is definitely part of them, although one common issue that arises with these teams is that you need to spend a lot of resources raising multiple units with good gear, whereas with teams who just utilize a single hyper carry, tend to be less resource intensive. But hey, at least physical teams get to play with a big panda if they want to, and those are the true winners of Endfield. Okay, finally, we also have Ardelia, and there's not much to say about her. All of us got her for free. She's really good in many teams, although ironically, it's a bit hard to use Ardelia together with Gilberta. However, I would still consider her to be a top so-called meta unit for team building, even today. Plus, yet again, if you decide to pull on Fest of Brilliance and you accidentally obtain her, and you never had any of her copies before, her first potential is actually pretty decent with all things considered. So if you lose, for example, in your 80 pull pity on this banner, it's not going to be that bad. In fact, most teams will appreciate and feel stronger thanks to that arts and physical susceptibility improvement. Still, I wouldn't recommend personally to pull for Ardelia or Pogranichnik on this Fest of Brilliance banner, since they are standard units, and you'll have plenty of chances to obtain them in the future. But as I said in the beginning, this is more or less a Gilberta banner, or I guess Gilberta plus Laevatain banner. But I know a lot of people in the community actually ended up skipping on Gilberta and got Levatane during 1.0 launch because we had plenty of pulls to throw around. Well, now's your chance to grab this cute support, but as I said, probably better to first wait and see what the 1.3 version will be all about, especially because remember how in 1.2 livestream, they revealed these 3 characters, one of which is Mifu. So I would say while Gilberta right now feels like the most universal support, we don't know yet what Enfield's strategy is when it comes to future supports. And perhaps this girl or this vampire guy will be the next Gilberta, who knows? Anyway, that would be my overview of the current state of the game and pros and cons of the Fest of Brilliance banner. Let me know if you guys found this interesting. I really like Enfield's current approach to team comps, and I could definitely cook up some more videos for you about more in-depth topics. So let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.